Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, if you like what we're doing, get involved, leave a comment, subscribe, do all of that, right? So today I want to draw your attention to an article I found, which I found really interesting. You should check it out. It's by Shard D'Souza, who is a well-known music industry journalist, and the title is "Indie Music Has Been Invaded by Fake Fans and Cynical Viral Campaigns. Here's how deep it all goes." So it's all quite ominous, scorched earth type stuff. And it's talking about how labels are able to fake virality or engineer virality, make a song go famous with money. So the article focuses on marketing agencies that labels and big management companies are able to employ. And what these agencies do is they provide a service that's quite well known in the music industry, but maybe not quite so well known broadly. The service is known as content seeding or astroturfing or burner accounts, right? And it's one of the most in demand music marketing strategies out there right now. So, to give you a playbook of how this works, a record label employs an agency. Take it from the beginning. And a record label has a song or an album or a project, right, that they want to promote. And because social media is so busy now, there's so much content out there, they need to find a way of getting their artists to cut through the significant noise that is already out there. They need their artists to be in a position where their song is being heard all the time, their content is being seen all the time. They've got constant eyes and ears, they've got constant attention, and they're constantly being reminded. You're constantly being reminded of their band, right? That's where they want to get to. And they can do that by paying marketing agencies who run, own, and operate burner accounts. So what are burner accounts? They're fan accounts or fan channels or anonymous channels that are operated at scale. Like these agencies have hundreds of these accounts, sometimes thousands. And what they do is they at scale share content by an artist or engage with, comment on content by this artist, constantly saying, oh, this is sick, this is great. And over a large scale of content, that starts to have an effect. So there was a well-known kind of case study that happened recently for the band Geese, who are, we're a big band last year and are kind of having a bit of a viral moment at the moment. And basically, the marketing agency were quite open in speaking about, how they did it and what they achieved. But this article speaks about quite a lot of agencies, right? Mentions Creed Media, Chaotic Good, and lots of other agencies who do this. So I should at this point outline some bias. This is a service that we do, and we've done it for some pretty big artists and pretty big labels, right? So it's not like there's just a couple of people doing this. It's not just like there's a couple of artists and labels doing this. This is pretty ubiquitous throughout the music industry. This happens a lot, right? So I just wanted to read some of the quotes from this article that I found particularly interesting, right? The first line that I found interesting: it has long been understood that political parties and A-list actors use social media platforms to create fake sentiment. Music fans may also expect it of mainstream pop stars, but not so much in indie music, where there's still an expectation that online discourse comes from real fans. I think that's a really sentient point because it's absolutely right. We allow the Drakes of the world and the Taylor Swifts of the world far more rope to do marketing tactics that we wouldn't allow. I don't know, Fontaine's DC or Kneecap. Do you see what I mean? Like certain artists that are at the very high echelons, we kind of see them as a big corporate alien who does what, who, they are very not in control of what's going on. It's kind of all done beyond them. But we kind of expect indie musicians to not do that. Why? Indie record labels have just as much investment in making their record perform. So I don't know. Yeah, it's so true, but I don't know why that is. So it talks a little bit more about Geese, and it says genuine Geese fan pages are alight with debate about whether the band's success can be seen as legitimate. Meanwhile, many listeners who are already skeptical of the hype around Geese are reveling in the proof that they were right. So this goes back to the kind of industry plant idea. I don't think you can call this industry planting, and I'll tell you why, right? Because when you run these campaigns, these burner account campaigns, these content seeding campaigns, right? If the music isn't good, it doesn't work. All right? Trust me, it doesn't work. If the music isn't there and it's not performing, if the music isn't very good and it's not catching with real humans, then it doesn't matter how many accounts post about it, because you still have to have that human engagement of, oh, I've heard this song quite a lot on TikTok. I'm going to go check it out on Spotify or Apple Music or go buy an album, right? So the whole, is their success real? Well, it is real. They've just had advantages to getting there. And that's because either the record label paid or someone invested in them. But that's nothing new. That's not anything new. This is an industry. So I found something else really interesting in the article. The writer speaks to a manager who's actually worked with these agencies. And there's a really interesting line here. Agencies such as Chaotic Good, that's the agency that worked on Geese's album, offered the illusion of really helping. All of these things are kind of a complete hoax. What is successful on TikTok changes by the week. No one actually knows the answer, so it's just people who do really well at pretending like they know the answer. I think they would say that themselves. I find that's a really interesting point. Yeah, look, I think there's definitely some truth in that. As someone who does content marketing and provides content marketing as a service, we are guessing. It's an educated guess. It's a guess that comes from experience. It's a guess that comes from posting content continually and seeing what works and A/B testing things. But it is ultimately a guess. We're not in the room when TikTok makes algorithm changes. We don't really know. So I think what the thing that people are really bothered about here, and it says it here, right? It gives the costs of working with these big, really well established agencies, right? So it quotes a campaign with Chaotic Good, who are, they're the agency that are kind of behind all of this. Their fees are £1,500 a month, and you have to do a minimum 9-month campaign. That's a lot of money. So you're committing to what, 13 or so £1,000, which, if you can afford it, is lovely, right? But I suppose the argument is that 99% of all artists and labels can't afford that. And essentially, you're going in competition with agencies and record labels who can pay out for this kind of service, right? The only thing I would say is, I don't know that you necessarily are going in competition. I think that's quite a rudimentary way of looking at this, because there's always been the haves and have-nots in the music industry, or in fact in any industry or any creative industry. And okay, an artist who is able to afford this and pay a fat £1,500 a month for a campaign is going to have significant audience in their particular niche and in their particular genre, right? But that doesn't mean that you have to be in that niche, and it doesn't mean that you can't still find attention within that space. It's not like the fact that Geese were able to pay all of these creators and have loads of organic track, loads of activity and traction on their song stopped anyone else's content performing well. That's not how it works. I understand the reaction to feel that this isn't fair, and I understand the instinct to say, well, we can't afford this, so we can't compete. But I don't think you need to fall into the trap of thinking social media is a competition. One artist having attention does not take attention away from you. Social media isn't a room full of people trying to shout. So yeah, and just I would really recommend, if you're interested in music and music marketing, checking out this article, because it is really interesting. It does give a bit of insight into how these things work, and there's some really interesting interviews from managers and record labels who talk about it a little bit. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. At what point do things become unfair? Is this wrong? Is this just modern music marketing? Is this just an agency seeing a gap and capitalizing on it? Where are you at with it?